Alright, so this has been a video that I've been trying to make for a couple weeks now because I released that previous one where I announced that I was going off the grid for a while. I was officially off 99% of internet access for 2 weeks, and then I returned. I was hoping to get longer than 2 weeks, but I told 2 weeks as a minimum. I returned because I had a deadline to post certain things on Instagram. I know, super superficial, and I just wanted to post them before a certain date, so I ended up doing that, and that had a bit of a time crunch on me, but I got the work out there, you know? And what's more important is how I am reapproaching internet access and technology after this experience. So let me first tell you about the actual experience of it. It was a lot of boredom. I'd get really comfortable with silence. However, I did allow myself to read a lot of books. So I read this one book, Into the Wild, and it was phenomenal. Very short read. If you're just trying to get into reading again, I highly recommend it. For me personally, I've been trying to get back into reading for a while, and I've been just kind of pushing through nonfiction books. This is the perfect book because it's a narrative and it's told in a non-linear way. The author has an advanced style of writing, so it's good for adults. While I found like a lot of my friends, they read fantasy books right now, and that might not necessarily be at the same intellectual level. While it's written by a journalist, so he has that mindset in mind, while also portraying a story and getting you emotionally attached to the characters. But it's also all nonfiction, so you're actually reading someone's real life story. And there is a movie of it for Into the Wild, and I have not yet watched the movie. I've been on the internet for maybe even 3 weeks now, and I've been trying to watch the movie. I actually started it, watched 5 minutes of it, got tired, and went to bed. So that's probably like the first thing with me reapproaching the internet is now a lot of TV, YouTube, and such. I can kind of take a step back in my head and be like, do I really want to watch this right now? Instead of my mind mindlessly scrolling, I kind of just pause for a second every once in a while. I'm like, do I really need to be doing this? And then I get off of it. So that's like one huge benefit is I don't waste a lot of time on social media anymore, just simply for that awareness that I've rebuilt. And who knows, maybe in a while that awareness could subside and I have to restart all over again. Another thing about the experience too is a lot of people thought it was weird I didn't have as many because I made it loud and clear, like, hey, I won't be online. A lot of people did not disturb me, which is great. I had notifications turned off on my phone except for texts for work. So every once in a while I'd get a text from somebody who would reach out and I'd be like, all right, like let me not even tempt myself and look at that text. I'm only gonna look at texts from 3 people, and those were like the 3 managers that I have working above me for my current farm job. And yeah, that was just perfect to really just set that aside. Sometimes my curiosity would get the best of me because I would have one time a friend who hadn't contacted me in like 6 months and I actually had tried to get a hold of before, reached back out, and I was like, whoa, this is weird. He had an audio message, so I just had to be like, I can't even like get a glimpse of what he's saying. I just have to like listen to the audio message. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna leave the audio message for when I get back and I can actually respond to this properly. And yeah, you learn a lot of patience through this experience for sure. I did get a rekindled relationship with nature. That was very good. I'm surrounded by a ton of nature right now. Let me just show you. So, yeah, right outside, if this focuses right, there's some sheets, but then I have huge open fields all around my house. And that was just like a very beautiful thing. Sometimes when I was bored, I would go out for walks and just go for a walk, enjoy the nature for a little bit. There were some of my days off, like today is one of my days off, and basically I just had to sit there and read the whole day. But I found a lot of entertainment in reading. Now, as I mentioned, sometimes when I start a movie, I'm like, yeah, I'd much rather just be reading right now. Like that's the perfect way to decompress after a long day. So that's what I've been doing more of. I've read Into the Wild, The Fountainhead, which I'm only partway through, but I paused it for right now because I want to read some books from the library, go back to some nonfiction. But yeah, now I've found, just like a TV show, how like I can't wait to get back and sit down and watch my TV show. Sometimes I just can't wait when I'm at work, and I was reading a bit during my lunch break. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get home and finish my chapter up, you know, because I'm wondering what happens next. And it's just a really weird relationship where it's like you're anticipating the next word of a book. That's insane, you know? Like, one can only imagine how people 50 years ago must felt before TVs and everything. Not 50, like 100 years ago, when that's all they had to do was read, and they were just like, oh, I can't wait for the next book to come out in the series and everything, you know? That is absolutely impressive. And yeah, I've gained a new appreciation for art in that matter. One thing I noticed during my experience as well is my roommate would have TV on, and like sometimes I'd sit down, eat my dinner, and I'd just be happy to watch what was on TV. You know, I didn't want to limit his access to internet and everything through my experience. And even if I got like 2 minutes of a TV show, in my head, because I was so understimulated, I'd be wondering, oh, like, what is that TV show about? Trying to connect the different parts of it. Like, I would go, eat my dinner, watch 2 minutes of his show, go to bed, and when I was sitting in bed, I'm like thinking about his TV show, and it really shows how programmable the brain is, and how whatever you feed the brain, the subconscious mind and the conscious mind will just keep working on that information and keep digesting it. And because I was so stripped of information, I realized how much my brain is just working in the background on certain things. So coming back now from this experience and how I want to reintegrate technology in my life, I'm definitely going to be way more picky and controlling of what information I do allow into my head and what I allow to be displayed on my screens. Social media. I try to, whenever I find that I'm spending too much time on social media now, I've been back for about 3 weeks. If I find, oh, I'm spending too much time on Instagram, I'll just delete the app. Yes, it is annoying when I have to re-download it and then like activate all the permissions and everything to get things going again. But I'll delete the app with no second thoughts, just meaning like I can always re-download it later. Some people that I found in the self-improvement space and entrepreneurial space, they say they re-download Instagram every single day when they're done with work. Just at the end of the day, they take it off their phone. I'm like, wow, you know, that's a really good way of doing it. Why are we so attached to deleting certain apps on our phone when we could always re-download them later? And it takes, the total process is probably 60 seconds, but that 60 seconds is going to save you an hour every day if you're mindlessly scrolling for an hour. Once you're done with social media for the day, just delete it, get it off your phone, and be done with it. So that's one thing that I'm definitely doing. I've realized that a lot of urgent matters, unless someone's calling you, they're not that urgent. You know? Within the first 24 hours of me being like, hey, I'm going off the grid, my dad and my brother called me, and I'm like, all right, this is weird. They're in a whole other country, so why are they calling me? They both know that I'm doing this. And it was because like my car registration, something happened with it, my car all the way back in the US, and I had to solve that. But yeah, and that was like the only urgent matter. And even then, my brother who's borrowing my car right now, he was like, it isn't urgent, I just won't drive it for the next couple of weeks. And I was like, no, I'll solve it, I'll get back on the internet for you. And you know, it was a problem solved, and that is a so-called urgent matter, you know? And if someone, let's say the most urgent thing is a medical emergency, I'm most likely not the person to call. You call 911, you call emergency services wherever you are. You shouldn't call me where I can't really do anything about the situation. You know, that information that that person is in medical crisis honestly can wait. Another thing I noticed going back in the experience is checking your phone right before you go to bed is so bad. Just out of curiosity, I checked my texts right before I went to bed one night, and it was my friend had said something. They were stressed out on the other side, and they were asking for my advice, and I ended up becoming stressed out. And I was trying to go to bed, and I ended up thinking about the problem for another half hour. And eventually, I just had to get up. I didn't even text them back. I was like, let me just get up, write everything that my head is going through in my journal, and then put that aside, and then I can reread that in the morning. That way it's just out of my head and I've solved the problem internally. And so that was just a much more effective solution. And now after that experience, and this was honestly only a couple of days ago, I'm like, wow, I really shouldn't be checking my phone before I go to bed. On the flip side of that, checking your phone first thing in the morning, I've even, just from my new addiction to reading, I've decided on some of my days off, I'll spend the first half hour to hour of my day just reading, and I won't touch my phone, I won't touch breakfast or anything. I'll just have a cup of water and my book, and I say, hey, let me do this for only a half an hour. I end up going for an hour, hour and a half, and I'm like, whoa, I haven't started my day, but I just keep reading. I'm like, all right, like that was a nice slow opening to my day where it was nice and relaxing, and I entered my day with the right mindset, you know, where I could truly relax on my day off. Yeah, if you have any other questions about my experience though, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I read every single comment and I'll try my best to respond to you in a thoughtful and active way. If you really enjoy my experience, I highly suggest you try it for yourself. One challenge that I put on my Instagram when I announced I was doing this was for people not to take their phones to the bathroom. Do not scroll on your phone while you're on the toilet, while you're brushing your teeth. You know, people didn't have phones, smartphones 30 years ago, and they didn't need to do that. So why do you? Anything that's on your phone can wait until you're after. And that is just a nice way to decompress your mind and not be stimulated all the time, every single day. If you have any other thoughts on that, please leave them in the comments below. If you enjoy this mindset type of talking video, feel free to subscribe. I put out a lot of these. I put out travel content, content about design, and content about mindset and philosophy. So that's what we're all about here. And if you got some sort of message out of this video, this video inspired you in any way, please, please, please like. That really helps the algorithm and allows these videos to get shared with more people. And my whole goal with these is to just help at least one person with every video. So if you were helped, feel free to share it with a friend. Other than that, you can follow me at talon.in.color on Instagram, where I put out a lot of rants on my IG, or you can follow my travel page at Escape Your Hometown on Instagram. Other than that, continue exploring and hope you have an epic day.